Okay, I'm going to introduce our speaker this morning, Jacques Klein. He's a retired Undersecretary General of the United Nations. Mr. Klein was General Klein was a career member of the Senior Foreign Service of the Department of State. He achieved the rank of Major General while in the Air Force. He spent most of his post-military career careening between the Departments of State and Defense to ever higher positions. In 1996, UN Secretary General Boutros Boutros-Ghali selected him to serve as an Undersecretary General and Transitional Administrator for the dicier parts of post-Cold War world. In July 1997, he joined the Dayton Peace Implementation Council Steering Board as Principal Deputy High Representative for Bosnia and Herzegovina with the Office of the High Representative. In August of 1999, UN Secretary General Kofi Annan made General Klein Special Representative of the Secretary General and Coordinator of UN Operations in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Between 2003 and 2005, he served as Special Representative of the Secretary General and Coordinator of United Nations Operations in Liberia, one of the UN's more successful peacekeeping operations. Between 2005 and 2006, he's been the visiting lecturer in International Affairs at the Woodrow Wilson School at Princeton University. General Klein has his undergraduate and graduate degrees in history from Roosevelt University in Chicago, Illinois. Postgraduate work in international politics at the Catholic University of America here in Washington, D.C. He's a graduate of the National War College, and he is also, in recognition of his service to peace, he has been awarded an honorary degree of Doctor of Laws by Elmhurst College. Among his awards, Department of State Distinguished Honor Award and 3 Superior and Meritorious Honor Awards, Secretary of Defense Medal for Outstanding Public Service. He has the Air Force Awards for Exceptional and Meritorious Civilian Service, Air Force Distinguished Service Medal, the Defense Superior Service Medal, and the Legion of Merit with Oak Leaf Cluster, a Bronze Star, and an Air Medal. He has numerous awards from many other countries. General Klein is, as we say in Washington, D.C., between assignments now. So, I introduce General Klein.
Well, if I could find that person, I would hire him. But as my grandmother always said, you know, when you're a young officer in the military, you get a nice performance evaluation or a little commendation medal or something, and you naturally want to keep your grandmother informed of this because she always assumed you'd be a total failure. And after doing this for about 8 or 9 years, my grandmother sent me a note saying, Jacques, we're all very proud of you, but please remember, a monkey in a tuxedo is still only a monkey. Now, when I was asked to come here, I thought, how long do you speak? You know, how much time do you take? And it reminded me, my daughter came to me and said, Dad, I have to write an essay. What is an essay? I said, an essay is a very short, succinct piece of writing. Brevity is the key on one topic. And I think if you do that and focus and hone in, you should do very well. And she came back about 3 weeks later, all smiles. I said, how did it go? I said, well, I got an A. I got a good grade. I said, may I read it? She said, no, I'll read it to you. I said, what did you write about? She said, well, I picked a Greek philosopher. I said, oh, okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and read it to me? So she read, Socrates was a Greek philosopher. He talked too much. They killed him. Now, before I actually go into this, I was ruminating driving in. It took an hour and 35 minutes from Klein this morning about the UN. And I don't know what your perceptions are of the UN, but having now been at the birth of 3 United Nations missions, United Nations Transitional Mission in East and Slavonia, UNMIBH in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and UNMIL, UN mission in Liberia, let me tell you how this thing really works. First of all, I found there is really no UN. That's a myth that politicians like to use. The UN did, the UN did. There's a United States delegate at the table in the Security Council who can veto anything he wants to. If he doesn't want to veto it publicly, he can veto it in court or kill it. Secretary General has very little power, as I found, and all the UN agencies are really totally independent, UNDP, UNHCR, et cetera, et cetera. They do what they want. They have a different chain of command, different communication, different personnel system. And I actually said to Kofi one day, I said, you know, Chef, I call him Chef, I said, Chef, listen, our personnel system is medieval, nepotistic, dysfunctional. It does not work. He said, Jacques, I know that. I used to be the director of personnel. Now, how does this thing really work? How does a mandate come about where suddenly, you know, you're handed a piece of paper saying do X, Y, or Z? And here's the reality. Imagine that there's a fire burning somewhere in the world which cannot be put out bilaterally or even trilaterally by the people in the region. So they say this is of international significance. We should give it to the Security Council. So one of the members of the council has to actually bring it to the table. Now, fire is burning. What to do? They all look at each other, and the first thing, obviously, the American delegate says is to his deputy, do we have anything insured, any property, anything of value in that part of the world? He says, no, sir. He says, we really don't think that this merits the consideration of the council. Someone else jumps up and says, you know, that area, that country, they helped us 2 or 3 years ago. And X, Y, and Z, and I think that some help should be granted. And they all chime in and they argue for 2 or 3 days, and finally there's a consensus. We must do something. But the American is the minimalist. Minimal. We'll do minimal. All right, so we do minimal. Can we agree, since there's a fire burning, on fire trucks and firemen? Yes. How many fire trucks? 5. Too many. Too many. Waste of money. 2 fire trucks. 2 fire trucks. 2 pumper trucks. We should probably throw in a ladder truck. 2 pumper trucks, 1 ladder truck. Can we agree on that? We're all in agreement. 2 pumpers, 1 ladder. 250 firemen and a fire chief. I will agree to that if the fire chief is from my country. But your country doesn't even have fire trucks or fire chiefs. You know, basically you live in little tents. All right, we'll have to find another fire chief. We've all agreed now. 2 pumpers, 1 ladder truck, 250 firemen and a fire chief. Unanimous. The Security Council has acted. And then we hand the Secretary General a memo that says, you have a mandate. And the mandate is to go out and put out that fire Security Council Resolution 12345. And the man looks at it and he says, where are the fire trucks and the firemen and the money? Oh, well, you raise that, you get that, you call people, and that's what you do. So his job down the hall is to call people. So he starts calling people. Do you have a fire truck you can spare? Peru jumps in immediately. We have a 1938 Mack fire truck that we're willing to give you because Würzburg, Germany is getting new ones and giving us their old ones. John, we have a pumper. The Danes are always generous. They give you a pumper. Canadians throw in the ladder truck. The 250 firemen we get very easily because the salary is $1,200 a month. But the 250 firemen don't speak each other's language, which complicates things when you're hooking hoses up. Now, we have a pumper truck that is diesel driven. That's the Danish one, relatively new. And the Peruvian one is gasoline driven. The hoses are not interoperable, totally separate, different generations. And the ladder truck probably only goes to the 4th floor. So now we have what we need, and now we find ourselves a Special Representative Secretary General to go out and put out that fire with his 2 pumpers, which are not interoperable, his ladder truck that goes to the 4th floor, the 250 firemen who don't speak each other's language, and hopefully he can find himself a fire chief who actually knows how the hell to put out a fire. That's the reality, my friends. And that's certainly what I had in my missions. So it is a pleasure to be with you this morning for one reason. It's a topic that you're working on. It's a topic of relevance, and one to which I think many of you have dedicated your time and your efforts. My remarks today deal with the Security Council's approach to peacekeeping mandates. Needless to say, each conflict on the Security Council's agenda has its own causes, unique personalities, and geopolitical variables. Therefore, there is no single formula or definitive operational manual that can be instantly applied to all situations. On the ground, we need to maintain flexibility to achieve fixed goals. At the headquarters level, we need to be sure of strong, consistent political support from capitals and adequate and timely resources, including resources from the international financial institutions. But above all, we need to base our interventions on a clear understanding of the nature of the problem that we're addressing and the capacity of the society in which we're intervening to sustain the solutions we will ultimately propose. Getting in is easy, getting out is hard. Taken together, these factors will determine whether we simply maintain the status quo or vastly improve it for the better.